Hello, today we are going for discrete Fourier transform. Now, why we are going for the discrete Fourier transform? We will discuss here what is the use of discrete Fourier transform and what are the drawbacks of discrete Fourier transform. Along with, we will learn the definition of DFT and inverse discrete Fourier transform. Okay. Now, up till now, we are dealing with the continuous time signal. Now, along with the continuous time signal, we will also study the discrete time Fourier transform. Okay, in our signal and system, we learn about the Fourier transform. Okay, so the discrete Fourier transform will provide a method to represent a discrete time signal in frequency domain and to perform frequency analysis of discrete time signal. Getting this? Okay, main intention of the DTFT is to provide a method to represent a discrete time signal in frequency domain and to perform frequency analysis of discrete time signal. But the drawback of the DTFT is that the frequency domain representation of discrete time signal often using DTFT will be a continuous function of omega. Getting my point? Again, I am repeating. The domain representation of discrete time signal often using DTFT will be a continuous function of omega, and so it cannot be processed by digital system. So because of this drawback, we will turn toward the discrete Fourier transform. Now, the discrete Fourier transform is shortly represented as DFT, capital DFT, and it has been developed to convert a continuous function of omega to a discrete function of omega. What is the purpose of DFT? DFT purpose is to convert a continuous function of omega to a discrete function of omega, so that the frequency analysis of discrete time signal can be performed on a digital system. Okay, then it is possible to perform any kind of analysis over the digital system. So this is the biggest advantage as compared to the continuous as well as discrete time Fourier transform. That's why we turn toward the DFT. Now we see here the definition of DFT. So we discuss it, but before that, remember DFT of a discrete time signal is obtained by sampling the DTFT of the signal at uniform frequency interval, and the number of samples should be sufficient to avoid aliasing of frequency spectrum. Getting this sentence? Okay. So here the sample of DTFT are represented as function of integer k. Now here k is used as an integer. So here some conventions are utilized for describing the DFT signal. So here k is used as a integer signal representation. So the DFT is a sequence of complex number represented as x of k. Okay, so here capital X of k is used for representation of a discrete Fourier transform, and here the value of k will be lies between 0, 1, 2, 3 and so on. It will be dependent upon the length of the discrete time signal, whatever the discrete time signal that which we use here. Okay, over that the length of the discrete Fourier transform is dependent. Now here remember x of k is a sequence consisting complex number. Okay, it is a complex number, remember the magnitude and phase of each sample can be computed, and it is listed as a magnitude sequence and the phase sequence. Remember, okay, it is a complex number, so that's why here it carries the magnitude and phase, and these magnitude and phase of each sample can be computed, and it is listed as a magnitude sequence as a and phase sequence. Okay, now we will learn in practical how you can plot it, the magnitude as well as the frequency spectrum as well as the phase spectrum. Okay, we will learn it in our problems also. I tell you how you can able to find the magnitude and the phase spectrum of a discrete Fourier transform signal. Now, last point that I have to tell you here, the drawbacks. The drawbacks of the now the drawback of DFT is that the computation of each sample of DFT involves a large number of calculation. Okay, so remember what is the drawback? Here, computation of each sample of DFT involves a large number of calculation, and when a large number of samples are required, then the number of calculations will be increases. So, to overcome this drawback, we will go for another algorithm. Okay, but for this time, we will discuss how you can use the DFT, how you can understand the DFT and IDFT. So for this time, I am telling you here the definition of DFT. Now, what is the definition of DFT? What it carries? What parameters are present? So here, let X of n is a discrete time signal. Remember, X of n is a discrete time signal and it has a length, that is L. Okay. Similarly here, when you are representing a discrete Fourier transform, then the discrete Fourier transform is represented by a capital X of k. So we will say a discrete Fourier transform is the discrete Fourier transform of X of n is directly proportional to the discrete Fourier transform. So here we will write shortly DFT of X of n is defined as X of k is equal to summation of n is equal to 0 to n minus 1 X of n e raised to minus j 2 pi nk by n. Okay, what is the definition? Here, X of k is represented as a DFT and X of k is directly proportional to summation of n is equal to 0 to n minus 1 X of n e raised to minus j 2 pi nk. Okay, here frequency term is coming with the our summation term and discrete signal. So here the value of k is represented as 0, 1, 2 up to n minus 1. Okay, so here the discrete time signal is represented with a length. Okay, and from this length we will calculate a discrete Fourier transform. Now this is about the definition of the discrete Fourier transform. Now we will go for here the inverse. DFT, inverse discrete Fourier transform definition. Now the definition of the inverse discrete Fourier transform is a small x of n, means we will get a original discrete time signal from the discrete Fourier transform. So that's why here the x of n is represented as our discrete time signal, and it has a length. That length will be achieved from the DFT signal. Okay, now the DFT, whenever we find out the DFT, that time from that length we will find the value of k, that will be 0, 1, 2 up to n minus 1. Now we will go for the revert process. So for this reversal process, here we will get a original discrete time signal, that is x of n. So x of n is defined as 1 by n into summation of k is equal to 0 up to n minus 1 x of k, capital X of k, into e raised to, now here instead of minus, remember most of the students are doing mistake here. Here they write minus sign, so here the sign is positive. J 2 pi nk, j 2 pi nk by n. Okay, so in this definition, remember here 1 by n term is multiplied. Okay, so it tells you here the length of a sequence, that is length of the DFT sequence. Okay, it will get divided, and summation of k is equal to 0 to n minus 1 x of k e raised to j 2 pi nk by n. Here the value of n is varying from 0, 1 up to n minus 1. Okay, so this is a way of definitions of the inverse discrete Fourier transform. Okay, today our topic is properties of discrete Fourier transform. So there are multiple properties of discrete Fourier transform. First is linearity, second one is periodicity, third one is time reversal, fourth circular time shift, then conjugation, circular convolution, circular correlation, multiplication, Parseval's theorem. Also, there are again few properties are there, but for this time I have given you these properties. Now we see these properties one by one. Now here first we go through the first property, that is linearity. Now here the linearity property you can define as, the linearity property you can state like the DFT of linear weighted combination of two or more signal is equal to similar linear weighted combination of the DFT of individual signal. Okay, I write here the statement. What is the statement? The DFT of a linear weighted combination of two or more signal, two or more signal is equal to similar linear weighted combination of the DFT of individual signal. Okay, so this is the statement of linearity. Now we go for the statement, okay, in mathematical form. Means you can write, let DFT of x of n, I write here in curly braces for your understanding's point of view, DFT open curly brace x of n curly brace end is equal to, we represent it as a x1 of k, and second signal we are picking as DFT of, here we take x. Now here the first signal is x1. Now we take here the second signal x2 of n is equal to curly brace end is equal to x2 of k. Now by linearity property we say we will get the DFT of a1 x1 of n plus a2 x2 of n is directly proportional to a1 capital X1 of k plus a2 x2 of k. Okay, here a1 and a2 are constant. Okay, so this is a statement of linearity. Now we will go for the proving. Okay, how you can prove it? Now we have to prove it here. In case if we consider, now as per the definition, what the definition will say, the DFT of linear weighted combination of two or more signal. Now here we have considered first signal is x1 of n, second signal is x2 of n. Okay, now first signal x1 of n, its DFT is x1 of k, second signal is x2 of n, its DFT is x2 of k. Now here if we consider two signal is equal to similar linear weighted combination of the DFT of individual signal. So here if we go for linear weighted combination means here we will do combination. Okay, so that's why here we add it. Okay, so a1 x1 of n. Okay, here a1 and a2 both are the constant multiplier, and this constant multiplier are multiplied with the x1 of n and x2 of n. Now if this linear combination is weighted, okay, and this linear combination of the DFT of individual signal, that we have to find out. So you will get a constant term is multiplied with a DFT sequence. Okay, so that's why a1 x1 of k plus a2 x2 of k. Now we will go for how you can prove it. Okay, so to prove here, again I just erase it. Okay, now as per the definition of the discrete Fourier transform, we know, okay, what is the definition of discrete Fourier transform? What it says? It says x of k is equal to summation. Okay, I write here below. X of k is equal to summation of n is equal to 0 to n minus 1 x of n e raised to minus j 2 pi n k by n. Okay, where k is 0, 1 up to n minus 1. Okay, now this is the definition. Now this is the definition of our discrete time signal. Now we will represent this definition as per the two signal. So that's why here I take x1 of k. Okay, okay. So x1 of k is totally a discrete Fourier transform signal of whom x1 of n. Okay, so that's why I write here dft of x1 of n. Okay, now what is the dft of x1 of n? Now here we take it from the definition summation of here n is equal to 0 to n minus 1 x1 of n e raised to minus j 2 pi nk by n. Okay, so I just put it the value of x1 of n. Now similarly the second one signal. Now what is the second one signal? That is x2 of k, okay, is equal to dft of x2 of n is equal to summation of n is equal to 0 to n minus 1 x2 of n e raised to minus j 2 pi nk by n. Okay, so these are our two equations. This is first equation, this is the second one equation. Now these are the two input signal. Now we will take the DFT of these two input sequences. Now here a constant multiplier, that is A1, here a constant multiplier A2 we will consider. So that's why the DFT of A1 x1 of n plus A2 x2 of n is, okay. Now what we will get, that DFT. So here we will solve it. Okay, now from this definition, okay, we will write here the summation of n is equal to 0 to n minus 1. Okay, so that's why summation of n is equal to 0 to n minus 1. Now we write it in a bracket. Okay, so it is a1. Now here the a1 is multiplied with the x1 of n, so that's why we write here a1 x1 of n plus a2 x2 of n. Okay, and we quit the bracket, and the our e raised to term, that is e raised to minus j 2 pi nk by n. Okay, this term will be multiplied. Okay, so here because of this definition we will return it like this. Now we will solve it. Okay, I write here. Okay, so I solve the term. Okay, this bracket I solve, and this e raised to term is multiplied with its individual term. So I write here summation of n is equal to 0 to n minus 1. Here a1 x1 of n e raised to minus j 2 pi nk by n plus a2 x2 of n e raised to minus j 2 pi nk by n. Okay, so I solve that term. Now I take a1 and a2 from this bracket. Okay, so here I multiply also this summation term to each term. Okay, so a1 that I take it from the outside. Okay, and this summation term is multiplied with this. So that's why I say n is equal to 0 to n minus 1. Okay, x1 of n e raised to minus j 2 pi nk by n. Okay, plus, and the second one term is a2 summation of, now this summation term is again here multiplied with that, so that's why n is equal to 0 to n minus 1 x2 of n e raised to minus j, okay, 2 pi nk by n. Right? Now if you look the term, what is the term? a1 summation of n is equal to 0 to n minus 1 x1 of n e raised to minus j 2 pi nk by n. Now here this x1 of term will be matching with the definition of x of n. Similarly, e raised to minus j 2 pi nk is matching with the our definition, that is x of, okay, e raised to minus j 2 pi nk. Now if this term is matching, only a1 is not matching, so that's why we write here a1, and this whole term, that summation is also included, so that's why this whole term is replaced as x1 of k. Okay, getting this point? Now similarly, second one, a2 x2 of k. Now you can say here the left hand side of the our definition is matches with the right hand side. So what was the term? That is, as per the definition, here dft of a1 x1 of n plus a2 x2 of n is nothing but is equal to a1 x1 of k plus a2 x2 of k. So that's why here we say our linearity equation is proved. Okay.